Om Dakshinasya Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryanta Smarya Guru Parampara Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaran Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Parigyanashrama Shri Guru Shankara Parigyanashrama Shankara Sadguru Keshava Vamana Krishna Panduranga Ananda Parignana Guru Sadyo Jata Shankara Sadguru Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vedantadindimah ekam udghoshayanti yat astam purastat tejaha dakshinamurti sannitam. So we are almost coming to the end, and I said in the last session itself that the author is now slowly landing to the final few verses where he's giving the take-home message, or what we call as the very summary of Vedantadindimah. So Vedantadindimah is nothing but what Vedanta says, proclamations of Vedanta. So here Vedantadindimah is now finalizing and giving us the very crucial and very important teachings of Vedanta, which are going to be in the final few verses, about 10 verses. We are in the 84th verse now, about 92, 93 verses. So another 8 or 9 verses we have where only the final conclusion or the summary as perceived by the author. We know ultimately that the core of teaching of Vedanta is Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. That is what. The only truth is that Brahman or consciousness, which is the existence behind the whole universe, including this body, mind, sense complex, including this so-called Jiva I perceive myself to be. And that is the only consciousness behind all the living beings that are there in the universe. That is also the consciousness behind the non-living being also, but this consciousness in the non-living beings is not being manifested. That's it. Because you need a sukshma sharira to manifest this consciousness. So in the absence of sukshma sharira, like in the jada objects, like a rock, like any other thing, what is manifest is only the existence, the isness. Whereas anything which is a living being, maybe it be a sthavara or a jangama, even a plant, even a tree, which is a living being, has some amount of reflection of this consciousness. Even a tree or a plant has its own sukshma sharira. And therefore, there is a manifestation of consciousness, and therefore, this Brahman ultimately is the only truth, Brahma Satyam. That is the only existence behind the entire universe, the consciousness behind the entire universe, and that is the infinite one, Anantam. And in this consciousness, in this Brahman, everything is situated. The whole universe is situated in nothing other than this Brahman. This Brahman is the ultimate adhishtanam. Okay? Supportless support of the entire universe. Does Brahman also have its own support to support it? No. There's no. That is why in an Upanishad, the teacher says, Yajnavalkya Bhagavan Rishi says that Sve Mahimni, in its own self, it supports itself and supports the entire universe. Brahman is that which supports itself, exists without any other support, and supports the entire universe. So, this is what is called as Brahman, which is the Satyam, the ultimate truth, the Paramarthika Satyam of this entire universe. And then the consciousness in every being, and every being who is in this consciousness. Okay, then it is that infinite one, the Purnatva Swarupa, the Ananta Swarupa Atma. That is what is that ultimate Satyam. And then what is Jagat? Jagat is Adhyaropita, or it is projected. Projected on what? It is projected on this Atman. Like a movie is projected on the screen. And when you're watching the movie sounds and it looks absolutely real. Isn't it? We hardly see the screen. We are not even aware of the screen. The whole movie, which is just moving, full of movement, full of changes, it sounds real. It seems real. So real that we get emotionally, literally drowned in that movie. We cry with the comedian and we hate the villain, and we cry with the, we cry with this one, what is that, the hero or the heroine? We get completely lost in the movie. And because at that moment it is Satyam. Similarly, a magic show. A magic show is something which is projected by a magician upon himself, but at the time of watching it, it looks as if the magic is real. Similarly, this whole universe is projected or adhyaropitam. This whole jagat is adhyaropitam on consciousness, on this, whatever you call as Brahman. And therefore, this projection is mithya. Like we see the movie, temporarily it is satyam for me because we are relating with it, relating to it. But ultimately, this movie is mithya. Correct? It is there, but really it is not there. It is experienceable, but if you go into it, really it is not there at all. None of the characters that are there in the movie are really there. They are somewhere else doing something else. Similarly, this whole universe is an experiential reality. It is there for the sake of our transaction, but really speaking, it is not there. Paramarthikataya, it is not there. So, Brahman is the only Paramarthika Satyam, and this entire universe is nothing but Vyavaharika Satyam, an experiential reality, a much lower order of reality, not the absolute reality. Jagan Mithya. Jivaha Brahmaiva. This jiva, which we think is an individual, because of its roles that it is playing, because of the upadhi of the body mind sense complex, I feel I am a different individual jiva, limited, restricted to this body and mind and sense complex. So for me, I is only this much, only this much. And with an extension that I has a few things which belong to me, mamakara. So the ahankara, mamakara with this, identification with this limited upadhi, like a wave thinking that it is separate from the ocean, like the pot space thinking that it is separate from the main space. Like, for example, the space in this room is nothing but that Maha Akasha, that space which is there everywhere. But what do I say? The room space, Because of the upadhi of these four walls, I feel that this space is restricted. But it is not. It is nothing but that space itself. And therefore, what is said is Jivaha Brahmaiva Naparava. Naparaha. It's not different. It is the same thing. That is what is told in the coming few verses. And going to the 84th verse, we will see that Parame Brahmani Swasmin Pravilapyakilam Jagat Gayannadvaitamatmanam Aste Vedantadindimah. So, Vedanta says that I, the individual, who I think I am a restricted, limited individual, I am that Brahman in which the whole universe has to be resolved, to be understood that the whole universe is within me. So, Pravilapya Akhilam Jagat Swasmin Parame Brahmani. Pravilapya. Pravilapya means what? The whole universe, which is nothing but Anatma, is placed or posited or supported by none other than me, the Atma. This understanding that there is nothing other than me, this whole universe is projection, the Jiva's projection out of avidya. Okay, so the avarana shakti, the vikshepa shakti of Maya, the vikshepa shakti of my avidya, that is projecting the whole world. The whole world has no independent existence of its own at all. It is merely an experienced universe for the sake of transactions. Depending upon the karma of this upadhi, this whole universe becomes a transaction, nothing else. So, Swasmin Brahmani, Swasmin, in me, Brahmani, in me, the Atman, Atma, Brahma. And what kind of Brahman? Parame Brahmani. In that most exalted Atma, Brahman, which is nothing other than myself, I have to learn to pravilapam. Pravilapanam means what? Resolve the entire Jagat. What is the meaning of resolving? The world is mithya, therefore it is really not existing. This body, Annamaya, is not the Atma. Annamaya is a really it is only a kosha. Pranamaya is not the Atma. Pranamaya is also nothing but ultimately a kosha. Manomaya is not the Atma. The mind is not the Atma. It is nothing but a mithya layer. Okay. So what am I doing? I'm peeling off all the anatma. What happens to that peeled off anatma? Where do I throw it? For example, this sthula sharira, annamaya. I am not the body. Body is mithya. So I have peeled off the atmatvam in this sthula sharira, annamaya, and peeled it off as a dead peel. Like I peel off a banana and throw the peel, I have intellectually discarded the peel. Okay, as a kosha, as an anatma. And I have done it with all the 5 layers. That is Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. I am not the body, Sthula Sharira, Annamaya. I am not the prana. I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. I am not the doer, enjoyer, ahankara. And I am not even my ignorance. I am not even the karanam, the bijam, maya. Then what happens to all the peeled off layers? Where do I throw them? Is there a dustbin to throw these layers? No. It is an intellectual peeling off means what? I have resolved them. I have literally absorbed them into myself as non-existent. Let me give you an example. We dream. in the dream state. In the Swapna Prapancha, in the Swapna Avastha, we are dreaming. Correct? When we get up, when we wake up, where does the dream go? Is it thrown into a dust? Oh, I had a dream and it was all false. So, where has the dream gone? Have I thrown it away somewhere? Can I look back and search for those thrown away pieces? So, where has the dream gone? The dream has not gone anywhere. As I wake up, that dream which was projected by me in the dream, when I wake up, gets resolved back into me. Similarly, when I wake up to the higher truth that Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Atma Brahma Asmi, I am that Brahman. Then what about this Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, which I have peeled off? And also the entire Jagat, that is the Sthula Prapancha, Sukshma Prapancha, Karana Prapancha, along with these three Shariras here, I have totally peeled off as I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. Then what am I? Where are all those anatma layers going to be thrown off? They were not there. They came, they were projected out of me, they are resolved back into me. The movie is projected onto the screen. And when the movie is over, what happens to the movie? Is it thrown off somewhere? No, that movie gets resolved back into the screen. When a wave arises out of ocean with its own name and form, it is there, but then when it is broken, or when the waveness of that, when the wave is over, what happens to the wave? It is that water only which gets resolved back into the ocean. The wave arises, projected in the ocean, gets resolved back into the ocean. Another wave comes, gets resolved back into the ocean. Similarly, one upadhi comes, gets back or resolves back into the Atman or Brahman. But for this jnanam, as a jnani, what does the jnani understand? All this anatma which I have peeled off as mithya, it just resolves into me. That which was projected from me outside, this Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya were all projections. This whole world is a projection, Vikshepa. And when I understand that they really do not exist, they are merely experiential reality, what happens to them? They resolve back into me. This is called as the process of pravilapanam or apavada. Projection is called as adhyaropa, and resolving that projection back into myself out of understanding, out of this knowledge. That is called as the apavada. So he says, pravilapya, having resolved. Does it mean that a jnani does not have a body, mind, sense complex? He has. But he has already seen the mithyatvam of that, and he has already resolved it out of knowledge as I, the Atma. This body, the Upadhi, is false. It's nothing but the projection. And right now, because of my avidya gone, it's no longer reality for me. It is there, but it's no longer a reality. It is on waking up to the highest reality, this anatma is also completely resolved back into me. The world is also resolved into me. And there's nothing wrong in saying that I am this entire world. That's the other way of saying. All these names and forms and the upadhis of the world and upadhi of this body, mind, sense complex, all that anatma is nothing but I and me alone. Nothing but I and myself alone. Nothing other than me. They are not different. They are not a second reality. I am the only reality. And all that is there is nothing but I myself with a false projection. This understand is called as pravilapanam of the entire universe. Neti, neti, neti iti. A Upanishad says you have to resolve the whole world into yourself, the Atma, understanding it, no, it does not exist, this does not exist, this does not exist. Iti, I have to understand, and out of this understanding, I resolve the entire universe into myself. So, what is there? Only the Purnatva Swarupa Atma is there. And what is the mental state of such a jnani? What kind of a mind he has? He is a Purnatva Swarupa Atma. Atma Purnatvam he sang. So what does he do? Gayan Advaitam Atmanam Aste. Gayan means what? He's happily existing. Gayan, or means he's singing. What is said is Gayan Advaitam. Singing Advaita. What is the meaning of singing Advaita? When you're singing, you're very happy, isn't it? Out of happiness. We sing when we are very happy, when we are very relaxed, we are humming, we are singing. Gayan Advaitam. That is, I am literally reveling in myself, the Atma Tattvam. Atmanam Aste. That's why there is an Upanishad called as Taittiriya Upanishad, in which, it says that a person who's a jnani, it seems, yetat sama gayanaste. He sings the sama. Sama means the Samaveda or the Sama. He sings. What does he sing? Ahamannam, 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 ahamannado, ahamannado, ahamannadaha. There's a big shloka there. I mean, there's a full mantra there which talks about how a jnani is in his fullness, absorbed in his fullness, absorbed in his totalness, absorbed in his purnatvam, infinity, how he is as though reveling, and his whole life becomes a song. It becomes a song. Gayan Advaitam Aste. Gayan Advaitam Aste iti Vedantadindimah. That's why in another, for this, Pravilapya Akhilam Jagat Parame Brahmani Aitadatmyam Idam Sarvam Tat Satyam Sa Atma Tattvamasi Shvetaketo iti. Shvetaketu was given this knowledge by his father Uddalaka in the Tattvamasi Prakarana in Chandogya Upanishad, that Yaitadatmyam idam sarvam. Yetad, this idam sarvam is nothing but yetad atma only. Therefore, whatever you see is a projection on this atma. And ultimately, you are that, and everything is resolved back into that. Tattvamasi iti. That is also one of the very, very important Mahavakya teachings that is there in the Upanishads, which talks about the first line, Parame Brahmani Swasmin Pravilapya Akhilam Jagat. And then Gayan Advaitamaste. He is reveling in his very Advaita Swarupa. No sorrow, no shoka, no moha. He is completely reveling in his Atma Swarupa. Then he said, next one is प्रतिलोमानुलोमाभ्यां विश्वारोपापवादयोः चिन्तने शिष्यते तत्त्वम् इति वेदान्तदिण्डिमः. So, I told you about Adhyaropa and Apavada, which is also called Pratiloma Anuloma. We'll stick to one term. We will stick to only the Adhyaropa Apavada, which is the most common word which is used in Vedanta. So, we will say here that, in the Shastra, a Srishti Krama is explained. Okay? To say how this whole creation is came about. Because we see a creation, we have to give a cause for that. We have to give some kind of a karanam for that. So what does the Shastra do? The Shastra or the Vedanta says that Brahman is the karanam for this entire universe. Okay, so Brahman is the karanam. So first I am seeing a Jagat. So it is a product. It is something which is experienced by me. For this experienced Jagat, now I still don't know that it is Mithya or Satyam, nothing. Right now I'm not talking about that. There is a Karyam. That means a Jagat. A finished product. Karyam means a finished product in the form of Jagat is there. Number one, step number one. There must be some cause for this. So now, what cause do I find for such a huge, beautiful world? There must be something bigger and more real than that. Brahman is therefore taken, step number two, taken as the very Jagat Karanam. And from this Jagat Karanam Brahma, the whole universe, step by step, is explained, starting from the Pancha Mahabhutas. Okay? This is called as the Adhyaropa, a projection. It's a projection. Gradually, like an umbrella opening up, gradually it is talking about, the creation of this entire universe through various steps. So Taittiriya Upanishad talks about, all the Upanishads talk about it, but Taittiriya Upanishad talks about it in a very, very detailed way. It says, Tasmadva ye tasmad atmanah akasha sambhutah akashad vayuh vayoragnihi agnerapah adbhyah prithvi prithvibhyam oshadhayah oshadibhyo annam annat purushah. So he says, so tasmadva ye tasmad brahmanah atmanah, from Atma Brahman, the five elements came. Akashah sambhutah. From Akasha, Vayu came. From Vayu, Agni came. From Agni, Apaha came. Apa means water. From water, the fifth element, the principle, the earth principle came. Then, with the process of Panchikaranam, the whole gross universe was formed. And the individual Panchamahabhutas, with their subtle aspects, formed the subtle Prapancha. Subtle Prapancha was formed. The Sukshma Sharira, the Sukshma Prapancha are from the subtle aspects of the Panchamahabhutas. And by a process of Panchikaranam, the Sthula Prapancha was formed. And this body, mind, sense complex was also formed. So that is a Adhyaropa, that is a projection, where from Brahman, which is consciousness, slowly the whole material universe is announced. So Brahman becomes the Karanam. Then the Apavada section comes. What is the Apavada section? Apavada means what? Apavada means whatever is projected is a mere projection. Therefore, the whole Jagat is not the absolute product of Brahman. Brahman does not undergo any change to become the universe. It is the Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam of this entire universe without undergoing any change. Vivarta. Vivarta means without undergoing any change. This Brahman becomes the cause for projection of this whole universe. Like the screen, without changing, becomes the cause for the projection of the whole movie. Like this Jiva, without changing, becomes the cause for the projection of the dream. Okay? Projection of the dream. The dream is projected, but I don't change. Vivarta upadana karanam, I am for the dream. Abhinna nimitta upadana, vivarta upadana karanam, I am. That means I am the material cause, I am the intelligent cause, and I don't change when I project a dream. Similarly, in Brahman, a dream called as the whole universe, including this body, mind, sense complex, is projected. And that dream is not real. Therefore, can I say that I am the cause of that dream? No. Since the dream is mithya, since the Jagat is mithya, Brahman also does not become the direct cause. Maya, utilizing Brahman for its existence and consciousness, projects Vikshepa Shaktya, it projects the entire universe. Therefore, what is the universe? Apavada. Adhyaropa means projection. Apavada means withdrawing or pravilapanam of the entire universe into myself. Like projection of the dream in the dream state. And when I wake up, understanding that the dream is not true and resolving the dream back into myself. Where does it go? The dream doesn't go anywhere, and I don't have to take it out and throw it somewhere. It's not a waste object. It came out of me and it got resolved into me, and it did not do any changes to me, the waker. Correct? Similarly, the whole world is projected out of Brahman, Adhyaropa, and the same projected world is withdrawn or resolved back into Brahman at the time of Pralaya. When it comes to the individual, it is the dream state and the deep sleep state. Whereas when it comes to the whole universe, it is nothing but Ishvara's projection, the world as a dream, and deep sleep, Ishvara's deep sleep in the form of resolution of the entire universe. So it is the Layakrama is also talked about. It is said, Jyotihi, it is said, Jagat Pratishtad Yeva Rishe Prithivvi Apsuhu Praviliyate. So Prithvi gets back, that is the Pralayakrama. When it started, how did it start? It started with Akasha, then Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. Going back, it goes in the backward order. Prithvi gets resolved into Apaha, Apaha gets resolved into Tejaha, means Agni, Tejaha gets resolved back into Vayu, Vayu resolves, and space resolves Vayu, and ultimately Maya or Karana Prapancha, Prakriti resolves all, including the Panchamahabhutas. This is the reverse process. Okay. Jyotishapaha pravilyante, Jyotirvayau praliyate, he vayuhu pralayam yati, manahasya akashameva. I will not go into that this one, but it goes backward. This is called as the apavada. So the whole world that we look at has to be understood by the Adhyaropa Apavada principle of teaching. This is the very important module of teaching of Vedanta, that the universe is a projection, Adhyaropitam, projected, and the disappearance or pralayam is the apavada. So ultimately what happens? Only Brahman is there. Nothing came out of Brahman, nothing went back. The whole cycle of creation is nothing but mithya. What is there is Brahman. What is always there is Brahman. Every creation is a mere projection and resolution. Projection, resolution. That's it. So when I understand that way, I understand that neither this shariram is born into me, nor this mind is me, nor this jagat has anything to do with me. It is a mere projection. It is an adhyaropa. And adhyaropa apavada rupena, what the previous verse talked about as the pravilapanam. Neti, 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 ti, pravilapanam. That is, yes, this body is a projection in me. This mind is a projection in me. What I think as I, the ahankara, the doer, the enjoyer, nothing but a projection in me. Avidya has projected this, and it looks as if it is real. And ultimately, every day, I, the jiva, am going through this process of Adhyaropa and apavada in the form of waking up in the morning and going back to sleep in the night. And that is also happening in the Samashti Jagat in the form of creation Sarga and also Srishti or Sarga and going back called as Pralaya. Therefore, I, the Atma, is a mere support in which the whole universe, including this individual, so called individual bodies or jivas, are projected and they are literally pravilapanam. They literally are resolved back. So, what remains here? Nothing remains. What remains is only me, the Atma. The existence, consciousness is the only thing which really exists. So let's go to the next verse, the 86th verse. Namarupabhimanam syat samsara sarvadehinam satchidananda drishti syat muktir vedantadindimah. So an extension of the previous verse. When the adhyaropa or projection takes place in me, it is in the form of various namarupas, names and forms. But then what happens to me? Because of my avarana, avidya's avarana shakti, what happens? Nama rupa abhimanam develops. Correct? That's why a small child, he doesn't have the abhimana that this is my body, this is my mind. It is literally protected by its own, what you call as instincts, like an animal. Instincts. The small child is also has instincts, and of course, the parents and the whole society is there to protect that child. It is protected. But then, still, the Nama Rupa Abhimanam is not there. It's pure, that consciousness, Brahman only. That's why we say children are God. Children, we are all gods. We are all Ishvara only. But the children, infants, young children, they totally express the Ishvara, that we can see that Ishvara as to, absolutely no Abhimana in the Namarupa. Neither they have Abhimana in their body or in anybody else's body. Slowly, when the mind starts developing, when the ahankara, individuality starts growing, yes, it's necessary. Otherwise, otherwise a living being cannot exist. Therefore, slowly everything starts appearing. And then slowly there is kalushyam in the mind. The mind goes on getting impure and impure and impure. All those kind of malas start accumulating. So he says, the projected universe, the projected body mind sense complex are mere projections, mere adhyaropas. They are not the truth. There is no truth in them. But then what happens? I, as an individual jiva, because of this ahankara separateness, I develop abhimanam, attachment with the namarupas. My body, my mind, my intellect. We saw that, we see that, isn't it? My body, it should be like this, it should be like that. It's different from other bodies. My body, my mind, my this one. Then slowly that ahankara, I am the one who's doing this. I am the one who has everything. So body, mind, sense complex, identity with the body. Body identification, ahankara. I am this body, I am this mind, the body, mind, entanglement and identification with the body mind. That is called as with the Nama Rupa here. Then what about the Nama Rupa Jagat outside, which is also a projection? It is a projection, nothing else. It is not real. It is the total projection in the form of Maya, Ishvara Maya projecting a total Jagat. Whereas in my individual case, it is the body, individual body, mind, sense complexion, which is my individual small projection, my individual dream. But then what happens to me? I get entangled with the Nama Rupa. Abhimanam with the Nama Rupa as aham mama aham ama. So Nama Rupa Abhimanam syat samsarah sarva dehinam. Dehinam. For all of us who think ourselves to be separate jivas, a dehi, separate body, mind, sense complex, individual dehi, I, the ahankara, I, the chidabhasa ahankara, I. What do I say? Nama Rupa Abhimanam, my body. Anything which is close to this body, it's mine. This is my dress. This is my book. No harm, because we have to carry out the transactions. Yes. But then when that abhimana becomes so much that I forget the original, then is the problem. The children who are there, who are just another projection of myself, they are mine. This house which is around me, because it is convenient for me to stay here, it is my, this one, it is my house. Nothing wrong. I may say, yeah, come to my house. Okay, I'm staying in it. Nothing wrong. But deep inside, every time I should understand that I have nothing to do with this house, nor this house has anything to do with me. It is just that I'm a temporary custodian of this house. I'm a temporary custodian of this body, mind, sense complex. That's all, as this jiva. Nothing else. So, Nama Rupa Abhimanam Syat Samsara. Does it mean that we should not have any Abhimana? Some amount of abhimana is necessary to carry on the daily activities. The daily transactions have to be carried on. It is absolutely necessary to some extent. Yes, a vestigial ahankara is necessary. Even a jnani has that ahankara. Even a avatara like Lord Krishna, he had an, I said, but what? It is only to the extent of carrying on the transactions. That's it. But inside, deep inside, the constant understanding is it is for the sake of this transaction or vyavahara, I have this, whatever little identification with this body, mind, sense complex. But in reality, I am not the body, mind, sense complex. Neither do I have this body, mind, sense complex. Nothing belongs to me. I don't belong to anything else. This is the secret of Advaitam Gayan Aste, which we saw in the previous verses. Then he says, Sarvadehinam Nama Rupa Abhimanam Yeva Samsara Hastyat. That Abhimana alone is Nama Rupa. Satchidananda Drishtihi Syat Muktihi. So if Samsara is Nama Rupa Abhimana, then what is Muktihi? Satchidananda Drishtihi Syat Muktihi. Muktihi Satchidananda Drishtihi Syat. I am this Satchid Ananda Atma. The body, mind, sense complex is a mere projection. I am not the body, mind, sense complex, nor I belong to the body, mind, sense complex, nor do the body, mind, sense complex belong to me. The world is a projection. It is not real. There is no minus in that. Minus means MYNESS, not MI. No minus in that. The world is by itself. It is meant only for transactional purposes. I have nothing to do with the world. The world has nothing to do with me. I don't belong to the world. The world does not belong to me. Who am I? Satchit Ananda Atma Ahamasmi, in which the individual jiva and the total prapancha are projected or adhyaropita, or they are mere, what you call as the projections, nothing else. They are mere projections. And therefore, when I understand that they are mere projections, Satchidananda Drishtihi Muktihi Syat. That is what is called as Muktihi, freedom. Freedom from samsara. What is samsara? Ahankara mamakara is samsara. Dukkha, moha, ragadveshas born out of ahankara mamakara are samsara. So here he says, for all the jivas, sarvadehina, more so for the human jivas, The animal jivas don't really have samsara. They are only at the time of when they are hungry, they have the Sharira Abhimana, when they have to procreate, yes. But otherwise, they have no question. When the young one, up to the time it is on its own, yes, the mother takes care of it. But after that, the mother is not even aware that it is my child, and it does not bother to put it, would do anything for it further. So Sachidanandaha Muktihi Syat iti Vedantadindimah. So Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya. This is the Vedanta Drishti. This is the knowledge. In spite of the body, mind, sense complex, in spite of the transactions, in spite of a visibly available transactable world, understanding that all that is a mere appearance, and I, this consciousness, is the ultimate Satyam iti. That understanding alone is Muktihi, or what is called as knowledge. So what happens with this Mukti? The world does not disappear. Just because Mithya, the like in the dream example I gave, the dream disappears completely. But here the world does not disappear because it is Ishvara's creation. It's not my creation. It is Ishvara's creation. Similarly, the body mind sense complex also does not disappear. It is there. But I understand what its real nature is. I understand what I really am. Iti Vedantadindimah. This is the proclamation of all Upanishads. Then the 87th verse will take. Satchidananda Satyatve Mithyatve Nama Rupayoho Vijnate Kimidam Gneyam Iti Vedantadindimaha. Once I understand Satchidananda Satyatve, Sat Chit Ananda Atma Yeva Satyam Iti, Vijnate means doing this. Then Namarupayoho Mithyatve, the Mithyatvam of Namarupa, the Satyatvam of Satchidananda Atma. Vijnate, knowing clearly, very clearly. It's not even an iota of doubt should not be there. Oh, I am Brahmana, my God. I don't even have a control over my own thoughts, what Brahman I am. If this much doubt is enough, isn't it? Jagat is mithya. But what I'm doing every day, I'm surviving because of this Jagat. How can it be mithya? So that means Vijnate means clearly understanding. Not mere understanding by words, no. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya is something which is to be imbibed, deeply imbibed, properly imbibed, understood properly. That's what he said. Even though I'm seeing a solid Jagat outside, I'm seeing a solid body mind sense complex here, but the deep understanding, very clear understanding that this is not the real. The real is I, this knower consciousness. Like solidly I experience sunrise and sunset. But in spite of that experience, I am aware. What am I aware of? I am this Atma Satyam. Iti I am aware of. Sorry, that is this. I'm very sorry. That there is no real sunrise and sunset. It is only the movement of the earth. Very clearly, I have understood the reality, but still, I enjoy the sunrise. I enjoy the sunset. Isn't it? Because I don't have any abhimana in it. I don't have any satyatva abhimana in it. Therefore, for a jnani, when Satchidananda Satyatve Vijnate, Namarupayoho Mithyatve Vijnate, knowing the Mithyatvam of this Namarupa, Kimidam Vigneyam, Kim idam Vigneyam, Kim idam Neyam, what else is there to be known? Kim idam Neyam, what else is to be known? Whatever else I know is Anatma only. All my degrees are Anatma. All the knowledge that I have about whatever science or arts or whatever it is, all my knowledge is mithya. It is limited to as much as to my mind and to my intellect. Tomorrow, if there is some problem with my mind, then what happens to that knowledge? It is lost. That knowledge which I had gained long, long, long back, some subject which I am not even following now, I have forgotten that. So, what about that knowledge? So, what is said is what is there to be known? What more is there to be known? Anything more that I know is nothing but mithya. Laukika jnanam is mithya. Temporary. That's it. I start learning something at the age of 6 or 7. Say, even for an artist, even say for a musician or dancer or whatever it is. At a particular time in one's life, you start learning something. At a particular time in one's life, that's given up also. And a time comes when it is forgotten also. So, Nyayam, all that is known as the knowledge, outside knowledge, knowledge of this world is nothing but what? It is nothing but mithya itself. It is nothing but mithya alone. What else is there to be known? The more and more and more we know mithya, there is more to know, isn't it? So, everything becomes outdated. In today's life, at least in this fast paced life today, whatever we have learned, within a short time, it gets outdated. I have to learn something new. I have to learn something new. I have to learn something new. And if I don't learn that new thing, I cannot exist. So that is the state. That means what? What is the meaning of that? There is never any completeness in it. There is never any fullness in this. Whatever I have learned, can I say that I have learned it fully? No. There is so much more to be learned, so much more to be known. Aparavidya is never complete in itself. The more I know, the more there is to know. Paravidya or Atmajnanam is the only Vidya which is complete, which stops with me. Aham Brahmasmi, it stops with me. There's nothing more to be known. It is completely stopping with me. This is the Paravidya or Brahmajnanam. विज्ञाते सच्चिदानंद सत्यत्वे विज्ञाते नामरूपयोः मिथ्यात्वे विज्ञाते किमिदं ज्ञेयं, what else is there to be known? So an Upanishad says na atah paramasti, na atah paramasti, nothing more than that. There is nothing to be known. And another Upanishad says ye tavadhi anushasanam. Kathopanishad, we have already seen that. Yamadharmaraja tells Anachiketa, this much, this is all, yetavadhi anushasanam. This is all that you have to know, nothing more. So easy, no? Laukika Vidya, the more we know, the more we need to know, more competition. There is somebody who knows more than me. I have to outbeat that person. But this is what? Yetad, yetavadhi anushasanam. This much. Aham Brahmasmi, a clear samyak darshanam of Aham Brahmasmi. That's it. Yetavadhi anu. This is the end. Aparavidya has no end. Paravidya, it ends with me. It starts with me and it ends with me. It may start with the world and then ends with me. And the only knowledge I need to know, the only Vidya, Paravidya, which is nothing but me, ends with me is Aham Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Satchidananda Satyatvam, Nama Rupa Yoho Mithyatvam. This is the only thing to be known. And that is the difference between samsara and moksha. Moksha is not some two horns growing on my head. The only difference between samsara and moksha is only this and nothing else. Then in the 88th verse he says, Salambanam niralambam sarva lambavalambitam avalambenakhilalambam iti vedantadindimah. So what is this Brahman? Sarva alambanam. Everything depends on it. There is nothing which can exist without Brahman. Anatma cannot exist without Atma. Anatma means name and form. So the existence behind every name and form is nothing but this Brahman. Okay? So, what is this Brahman? Salambanam, the one which has no support but which is supported by its. It is the alambanam to everything. It is its own alambanam. Niralambam, it doesn't depend on any other support. It doesn't depend on any other support. It is its own support. Salambanam, it supports itself. Niralambam does not depend on anything else for its support. Sarvalambam avalambitam. Sarva lambavalambitam. Sarva avalamba avalambitam. That means all the supports of everything. For example, I may say, I'm sitting on a chair. The chair is supported by this floor. This floor is supported by something else. And that is supported by something else. That is supported by the earth. The earth is supported by. Now, what is it? Ultimately, Sarva Alamba Avalambitam. All the so called, supports of this whole universe, they are nothing but those who are in this Brahman, who are supported by this Brahman. So it is the very Adharam, Niradharam. It does not have any Adhara of its own. Sve Mahimni. So a Shisha asks, Saha Bhagavaha Kasmin Pratishtita Saha Brahma. That Brahman, where, in what is it supported? So, Sve Mahimni Yadiva Na Mahimni iti. That means Sve Mahimni. In itself, in its own, it is the support to itself. The only thing independent in this world is Brahman. Everything else is dependent. I may say I am a very independent person. It's a relative independence. I still have to depend on so many. To be sitting here today and talking to you, thousands of people are working for this. Every one of us, every minute of our lives, to be alive, to go on, to do transactions in the world, I am dependent on thousands of unseen people, unseen hands. So, in this Namarupa Jagat, everything is dependent upon something or other. The only thing which is a supportless support to this entire universe of all the names and forms is nothing but Brahman, which does not have any pratishtha or support, which is a support in itself, supporting itself, existing by itself, and giving the support of existence, consciousness to everything else. This will be the penultimate class, and we'll be completing in the next class. Nandantu sadhaka sarve vinashyantu vidushakaha avastha shambhavi mestu prasannostu guru sada sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayaha sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukham apnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat.